And that, more than anything else, for me, helped convince me of this dogma. It wasn't so much where. The fact that it occurred and that there is no remains means that it happened. Where it happened, I don't know. I wouldn't know. My leaning is more towards Ephesus because she stayed with John, and John was her custodian, if you will, until he passed away. So I don't think she made that journey all the way back to Jerusalem. But there is a church dedicated to her there as well. Okay? Again, I wouldn't quibble about where. That seems to be a little bit up for debate, depending on which tradition you want to look at. But the fact that in all cases, both Christian splits, east and west, believe that the event occurred and none claim any relics. That's more important. Does that make sense? Okay. So yeah, we can quibble about the where, Ephesus or Jerusalem, but you can't quibble that the event occurred. Okay. In much the same way that there are no relics of our Lord. None. No hair, no teeth, no bones, no fingernails, nothing. In the same way there is for Mary. So if we and non-Catholic Christians definitely believe in the assumption of our Lord, and why? Because there's no relics, etc. In the same way, you have to accept that there's no relics of Mary. Of all that the Catholic Church honors and venerates, there are no relics. That speaks big time for that. Connie, and then Leslie.
How about the Shroud of Turin?
That's not a relic of a first-class nature. Not in the sense that it's bone or like that. There's blood, yes. Leslie.
Was St. Stephen a disciple? Because his death is described.
Yes. He would be a disciple, a follower of Jesus. He came out. He was not one of the 12, but he was a convert. Yes. All right. Are we good on the assumption? Oh, good. So I want to get to tonight. We are doing the overview, the outline, and the theme to the Song of Solomon. What we spent the last 2 weeks doing, if you've noticed, is that we've taken the broad view of biblical study and we've narrowed it to the study of just this book. And now we're getting into the depth of the book. The first place to do that is to study the book as a whole, to get the major ideas and themes and ideas out first. And then we get more granular. And there is a madness to my method, okay? And that is, this is what good biblical study, this is how you do good biblical study work. This is what I do in preparation for all of the books that we've gone through so far. The difference is, in the past, I've kind of done all the work for you and just presented it. I'm trying something new with this because I want you to get into the habit of doing this yourself. Many of you have been here for well over a year or more and have kind of learned by my example. Now I want to give you the opportunity to start doing it yourself, because it's one thing to feed you fish. It's another thing to teach you how to fish yourself so you can feed yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And what I want to do is I want to guide you into good Catholic commentaries that can help you. But with anything that you want to study, what you don't want to do is just jump into the commentary part without seeing the broader picture. And the broader picture begins with understanding the entirety of the scriptures. Knowing the whole big story, because each book of the Bible fits into that larger narrative. And we've, like I said, we've been here before. The larger picture is this. Okay? This is the larger picture. This is the framework. This is the outline, if you will, of the entire Bible. How each of these covenants are the framework by which God has dealt with human beings since Adam to now. From eternity past to eternity the future. So that's important to keep that in mind, that the theme of the entire scriptures is covenant relationship. God began the work of creation of the universe in a covenant relationship. What does covenant mean? What do you think? Marriage. There is this expanding of one's family through relationship. And it began with Adam and Eve as the apex of creation. If you will, it begins with a marriage. God brings them together. The marriage of Adam and Eve becomes the sign on earth of the covenant relationship he has with them in heaven. Does that make sense? No? Yes? Yes? Marriage on earth is a symbol, if you will, a sign of the kind of relationship God has with his human creatures as a whole. Okay? Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay? Because that theme, that marriage, continues all throughout these relationships. Just because Adam and Eve fell from grace, didn't mean that the covenant was broken. God has, from that point onward, been attempting to remend the covenant, reaffirm it through a succession of other covenants with Noah, with Abraham, through Moses, through David, and finally to Jesus. All of them are the covenants that God has established from the beginning of time to now. Will there be any other covenants God makes?
No.
Why not? Because Jesus is God and he established a new and
Everlasting
eternal covenant. Boy, I've heard that phrase before. Where have I heard it?
The Mass.
In Mass. This is the cup of my blood, the blood of
New and eternal
the covenant, which shall be shed for you and for all, so that sins may be forgiven. Got it?
Yes.
When we go to Mass, we are renewing our wedding vows. Every time, because that covenant is the central theme that binds us through all of these covenants till now. All right? Everyone good? Good. So, whenever we read any of the books of the Bible, whenever we start studying, we have to see how this fits into this bigger picture. That's the first step of good biblical scholarship and interpreting. Okay? You've got to have the whole picture. Okay? So then once we have that whole picture, then we focus in on the book itself. And that's where we've been the last few weeks. Some announcements I already mentioned about Leslie. Please keep her in your prayers. I'm starting the new school year, and I need someone or someones to volunteer to come early before 5 p.m. to get the key to unlock. Will you do it, Patty?
Yeah,
Super. All right. Just get the key. You don't have to be here at 5 and stay here until 6 or 7. But just to get the key to unlock, and we have it open by 6 or thereby, or close thereby. If someone or someones would like to come early to help set up, as you can see, we have a lot more people than I had originally planned for. We have 6 major tables, and now we have 2 others that are filling up. And so I would greatly appreciate it if other people could get here early to help set up. If you can, please do so. The more hands make for easy work. And I already spoke about the assumption, so I just wanted to make sure I covered all of that. Enough of me talking. It's time for you to talk. All right? In your table groups, I just want to briefly go over some of the group rules that we went over before. It's a safe group. Make sure that you keep confidentialities, no gossip or spreading of other things that people are sharing. Make sure that you all listen, pause, keep the silence. Don't cross-talk or fix other people's what they are sharing. Please don't rescue each other. Sharing should be one of those times in which you just do that. Share your ideas and come up with what you've learned from each other. Okay? Be self-aware. Always speak in I statements. Avoid statements that say us, we, they, the church does this or that. Okay? Speak about your own experience at this time in the study. If there is conflict that comes around, we will address it biblically, as always. But hopefully if we go over that, it won't occur. What is it that you're talking about at the tables? Well, I'm glad that you asked. It's the homework questions. The first question I want you to ask around each other is, did you read the entire book, Song of Songs, the Song of Solomon? Did you do it? And if not, what prevented you from doing it? What was it? Okay? And it's not a mea culpa thing. This is your benefit. I'm not going to mark you down. You're not my, I don't have a grade book, but this is your time. All right? If you didn't do it, then reflect on that yourself. Why? Why didn't you find time? Oh, I couldn't do it, I did it. Whatever the excuses are that you want to come up with, step back for a moment and just say, how come I didn't make time? Think of it that way. All right? If you did do it, great. I want to know, how did you outline the book? As been told, and as you know, I mean, it's no mystery, there's an outline in the book. So why are we doing this? This is an easy question. All I have to do is just copy off of that. Well, yes, you could, but does that reflect what you figured out from this? Is this the way you would outline it? And if you say yes, then how come? Well, Scott Hahn's smarter than me, so I'm just going to rely on him. So your reading of it didn't matter. You didn't see certain themes or anything clustered together. How would you outline this? What were some of the main ideas or themes that you did find? And finally, what do you think is the theme verse? If you had to summarize the Song of Songs in one verse, which verse would it be and why? Explain that, right? Everyone understand what's going on? I'm going to give you a full 30 minutes to do this. So by 8:30, in fact, I'm going to give you a little bit more than that because I rambled on. You have until 8:30. Talk about this at your tables. Share what you have done. And then what we'll do is we'll spend the rest of the evening kind of getting some, we'll piecemeal some tables for those ideas. Those of you who are on the outer edges, if you feel like you don't have a lot, you may want to join another table, or if you're fine, you're fine. All right? So there you go, 30 minutes.